Don't cry for me, Argentina. Every day of my final mission transfer, I drove past a big blue sign in the shape of an arrow, which read Buenos Aires. Now, by looking at this sign, you may have thought that I was serving in the multicultural, exotic capital of Argentina, but I was not. I was in Reno, Nevada. Although I had been called to serve in the Argentina Mendoza mission, as a result of COVID, I served the entirety of my mission in Reno. How many of you have wanted something to go a certain way and it did not go as planned? Raise your hands, let me see them. And keep your hand up if you currently have a goal. I know you have goals, let's see them. What if your goal doesn't go as planned? What if the result is not expected reality? Today, I will be talking about being process-oriented rather than being result-oriented so that we can combat personal disappointment. I'm qualified to address this topic because, like many of you, I too have experienced personal disappointment. According to a speech given by former BYU President Cecil O. Samuelson, the problem with being result-oriented is that when we focus solely on the result, a gap is created between our expectations and our reality, which creates a space of despair that we refer to as disappointment. By being result-oriented, we are able to bridge the gap between our expectations and our reality. According to an award-winning psychologist, author, and science journalist for the New York Times, Daniel Goleman, he stated that optimism oftentimes leads us to feeling disappointed because our expectations have been too high. Now, I am not saying that we need to throw optimism away. Instead, I am proposing that in order to become process-oriented, we focus on the good things that are happening in the process. When we focus on the good things that are happening in the process, we realize that the end result should not be the only good. For example, in Exodus, we read the book of Moses. We read about Moses. Moses expected something good to happen. Moses expected to make it to the promised land. After Pharaoh's unfairness and some magician's mockery, Moses establishes his escape. He confidently commences a crossing of the Red Sea. And even then, Moses doesn't make it to his promised land. But good things still happened. On my mission, had I been solely focused on my own promised land, Argentina, I would have been disappointed. But I was not, because I focused on the good that was happening right there in Reno. For example, I learned that Spanish can be learned anywhere. I also learned that quarantine limitations were really opportunities to learn creativity with infrastructure. Most importantly, I learned to focus on the good, which leads me to my next solution. In order to become process-oriented, we must continue cultivating and creating good from previous experiences. According to an address given by BYU professor Aaron Kramer Holmes, God is not our dictator. God is our co-creator. You see, God does not dictate the bad in our lives to withhold us from opportunities, but instead he works with us so that we can create a continual good in our life despite circumstances, trials or triumphs. Just like the children of Israel wandered the desert for many years, I too found myself wandering towards the conclusion of my mission when I found myself hospitalized and left without any answers. A year later, I have discovered Hashimoto's disease and have since been diagnosed with a series of other health conditions that are oftentimes associated with this disease. While I hoped for a miraculous cure, and while the journey could have been a longer experience, I realized that when I take my lessons that I learned from Reno, I can continue cultivating good. To conclude, I want to extend a good luck to my fellow travelers on your own journey to your own promised lands. So I leave you with this. When experiencing personal disappointment, go with the good and continue cultivating and creating good despite circumstances, trial or triumph. The journey of the promised land is no destination. It is no Argentina. It is no miraculous cure. It is not the result. It is a process. I loved my time in Reno. I'm still learning from Reno. So don't cry for me, Argentina. The truth is, I've never met you.